Bhagwan's presence and indeed to seek His blessing, His grace, and His guidance. I'd invite us all to stand as we begin now with invocation mantras. And as we do so this morning, I invite us all to gaze at that form of Bhagwan that we find most endearing, most appealing to us. Retaining that form in our heart and in our mind, we close our eyes, the windows to this physical world, going deep within and communing directly with Bhagwan. Hari Om Shri Ganeshaya Namaha Om Shri Saraswatye Namaha Om Shri Guru Charan Kamalebhyo Namaha Vakratunda Mahakaya Suryakoti Samaprabha Nirvignam Kurume Deva Sarvakareshu Sarvara Jayanti Mangala Kali Bhadrakali Kapalini Durga Kshama Shiva Dhatri Swaha Swadha Namostute Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsa Chanuramardhanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Bande Jagatguru Nagindraharaya Trilochanaya Bhasmangaragaya Maheshwaraya Nityaya Shuddhaya Digambaragaya Tasmai Nakaraya Namah Shivaya Om Namah Shivaya Ramaya Ramabhadraya Ramachandramabhedase Raghunathaya Nathaya Sitaye Pataye Namaha Om Manojavam Marutatulyabhegyam Jetindriyam Buddhimatam Varishtam Vatatmajam Bharadiyutamukam Shri Ramadutam Shirashi Namami Om Shanti 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 Hari Om. My dear, let's resume our seats as we engage now in Ganesh Bhajan. We invite us all to sing together, to clap together, and let us glorify the name of Bhagwan as we engage in Kirtan.
लंबोदर गजानना विघ्ननाशक गजानना लंबोदर गजानना विघ्ननाशक गजानना दुखनाशक गजानना रक्षक गजानना दुखनाशक गजानना भक्त रक्षक गजानना गजानना ही गजानना गजानना ही गजानना गजानना ही गजानना गजानना ही गजानना लंबोदर गजानना विघ्ननाशक गजानना लंबोदर
बोले श्री गणेश भगवान की जय. We continue with Kirtan now, and we invite you all to continue glorifying the name of Bhagwan as we sing together and glorify Bhagwan's name.
Sri Guru Charan Saroj Raja Nij Man Mukur Sudhar Varno Raghupati Bimal Jasu Jo Dayak Phal Chai Buddhihin Tanu Jari Ke Sumiro Pavan Kumar Bal Buddhi Vidya Dehu Mohi Harahu Kalesh Vikar Bhajlo Ji Hanuman Bhajlo Ji Hanuman Bhajlo Ji Hanuman Bhajlo Ji Hanuman Jai Hanuman Gyan Gun Sagar Jai Kapis Tihu Loka Ujagar Ram Dut Atulit Balarama Anjani Putra Pavan Sutanama Mahavir Vikram Bajrangi Umati Nivar Sumati Ke Sangi Kanchana Varana Viraj Sunesha Karan Kundal Kunjit Kesa Hath Vajra aur Dhwaja Viraje Kandhe Mooj Janeyo Saje Shankar Suvan Kesari Nandan Tej Pratap Mahajagvandan Vidyavan Guni Ati Chatur Ram Kaj Karive Go Matur Prabhu Charitra Sunive Go Rasiya Ram Lakhan Sita Man Basiya Sushma Roop Dhari Siya Hi Dikhawa Vikat Roop Dhari Lanka Jarava Bhima Roop Dhari Asur Sanhare Ramchandra Ke Kaaj Samare Laye Sanjeevan Lakhan Jiyaye Shri Raghuveer Harsh Ur Laye Raghupati Geeti Bahut Badhaye Tum Mam Priya Bharat Sam Bhai Sahas Varan Tumharo Yash Gaave As Kahi Sripati Kandal Gaave Sadikadik Brahmadi Murisha Narad Sharad Sahit Ahisa Yam Kuber Digpal निरंतर हनुमत वीरा संकट ते हनुमान छुड़ावे मन क्रम वचन ध्यान जो लावे सब पर राम तपस्वी राजा विधि काज सकल तुम साजा और मनोरथ जो कोई लावे सोई अमित जीवन बल पावे चारों युग परिताप तुम्हारा है परसिद्ध जगत उजियारा साधु संत की तुम रखवारी असुर निकंदन राम दुलारे अष्ट सिद्धि नव निधि के दाता असबर दीन जानकी माता राम रसायन तुम्हारे आसा सदा रहो रघुपति के दासा तुम्हारे भजन राम को भावे जन्म जन्म के दुख बिसरावे अंत काल रघुपति पुर जाई जहाँ
Sitaram sab koi? How are you all? How has your challenge been going? For those of us who are on it, for those of us who would like to start, I want to remind you that when we are doing our sadhana, our meditation, if we are using our malas, remember to watch your breath. So for example, if you are using your mala and you're saying Om Namah Shivaya, you breathe in. Om Namah Shivaya, breathe out. Om Namah Shivaya, in. Om Namah Shivaya, out. Om Namah Shivaya. So that way, you're not just shallowly reciting without taking the time to breathe. And the breath is important. Why is the breath important? Can anyone tell us? Because the breath, when taken in, reaches to all of the cells through the different processes in the body. And if that breath is charged with the mantra that you're reciting, then that charge reaches to all of the cells of the body. And then when you exhale, you are removing the negativities. So it is important to ensure your breath, your breathing, and your prayer. As you move on, you can then recite longer mantras, whether it is Gayatri mantra, Om Bhur Bhuvah Swaha Tat Savitur Varenyam, all in one breath, and then out, Om Bhur Bhuvah Swaha Tat Sa, like that. So that is just for that, to remind you about it. Let us begin with our Bhagavad Gita Dhyanam. We are almost through all of the shlokas that we have to sing in it, and we will start today, as we've done before, reciting together. Am I on the right pitch, Neil? Not on mine, the lower one. Can we sing along now? Parthaya prathibodhitam bhagavata Narayanena swayam Vyasena gratitam purana munina Madhye mahabharatam Advaitamritavarshini bhagavati Ashtadashadhyayani Amba tvam anusandadhami Bhagavad Gita bhave dveshini Namostute vyasa vishala buddhe Phulara patra netraha Yena tvaya bharata telya purnaha
Prajvalitu jnanamaya pradipaha
Prapanna parijataya Totra vetraikapanaye Jnanamudraya Krishnaya Gītāmrita duhe namaha Sarva upanishado gavo Dogdha gopalanandanaha Partho vatsa bhokta Dugdham Gītāmratam mahat Vasudeva sutam devam Kansa chanura mardanam Devaki paramanandam Krishnam
Te jagat guru
Bhishma drona tata jayadhrata jala Gandharani lotphala Shalyagrahavati kripena vahani Karnena velakula अश्वत्थामविकर्णघोरमकरा दुर्योधनवर्तिनी सोत्तीर्णो खलु पाण्डवैरननधि कैवर्तकः केशवा पाराशर्यवचः सरोजममलम् गीतार्थगन्धोत्कथम् नानाख्यानककेसरं हरिकथा सम्बोधनाबोधितम् लोके सज्जनशतपदैरहरः पेपीयमानं मुदा भूयद्भारतपङ्कजं कलिमल प्रध्वंसिनः श्रेयसे. Now today the 8th shlok that we will be singing together, we are familiar with it, so I don't think I need to have you repeat it. After me we can sing it together. मूकं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुलङ्घयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे परमानन्दमाधवम्. गोविन्द जय जय गोपाल जय जय गोविन्द राधा रमण हरि गोविंद जय जय राधा
रमण हरि गोविंद जय जय
राधा रमण हरि गोविंद जय जय राधा रमण
हरि गोविंद जय जय.
प्रेम से बोल श्री गोविंद कृष्ण भगवान की. Take your Bhagavad Gitas, touch to your forehead, open to chapter 2. Which verse are we at? Who can remind us? There are Bhagavad Gitas that are here for those of us who don't have. Please share them around. Who can help me? Which verse are we at? So, homework for next week. Make sure that we read back what we have read for this week so we will know where we are. So we were at verse 21. We did 20. We ended at 20 last week. So just to put you back into the frame of mind, we will begin with 20. And we will start together. The soul is never born, nor it ever dies. Nor does it become only after being born. For it is unborn, eternal, everlasting, and primeval. Even though the body is slain, the soul is not. Arjun, the man who knows this soul to be imperishable, eternal, and free from birth and decay, how and whom will he cause to be killed? How and whom will he kill? As a man shedding worn-out garments takes other new ones, likewise the embodied soul weapons cannot cut it, nor can fire burn it. Water cannot wet it, nor can wind dry it. For this soul is incapable of being cut or burnt by fire, nor can it be dissolved by water, and is undryable by air as well. This soul is eternal, omnipresent, immovable, constant, and everlasting. This soul and Arjun, if you should suppose this soul to be subject to constant birth and death, even then you should not grieve like this. For in that case, death is certain for the born, and rebirth is inevitable for the dead. You should not, therefore, grieve over the inevitable. Arjun, before birth, beings are not manifest to our human senses. On death, they return to the unmanifest again. They are manifest only in the interim between birth and death. What occasion then for lamentation? As marvelous, and scarce another hears of it as marvelous. And while there are some who know it, not even on hearing of it. Arjun, this soul, dwelling in the bodies of all, can never be slain. Therefore, you should not mourn for anyone. Govinda bolo, Hari Gopal bolo. Govinda bolo, Hari Gopal bolo. Radha Ramana, Hari Govinda bolo. Radha Ramana,
Hari Govinda bolo.
Radha Ramana, Hari Govinda bolo.
Radha Ramana Hari Govinda bolo.
प्रेम से बोल श्री गोविंद कृष्ण भगवान की जय. Now as we sit comfortably, we focus on Krishna Bhagwan, Shivji Bhagwan, Durga Mata, whichever one best reaches out to you, the one that pleases you the most. I will focus on Krishna Ji. And we begin. We look at his feet. Pause there for a moment and take deep breaths in and out. And in and out. And in again. And out. As we look upon his beautiful feet, we take our gaze up his dhoti, looking at each fold that is there. Beautifully adorned he is, up to his stomach, up to his chest where the beautiful mala rests, and then to his hands, holding the bansuri as it plays that beautiful sound, inviting us to him. We look to his lips and to his nose and to his eyes, deeply into his eyes, feeling the love coming directly from him, all compassion, all security, all love. And up to his forehead and his crown, and the beautiful peacock feather fluttering in the wind. We take a deep breath there and pause for a moment. And we come back down to his face, to his eyes, to his smile, to his lips where the bansuri continues to play that divine sound, calling us to him, come, come. To his shoulders and to his chest, and back down to where his dhoti flutters in the wind. All of the pleats falling as they should. And we rest our eyes on his feet. The tears of our own love and joy washing those feet. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. As we open our eyes, focus on Krishna Bhagwan or that Murti that best reaches out to you. Take a deep breath in. Fill your entire senses with the presence, that image, and hold that image there as we continue doing puja. Prem se bolo Shri Govinda Krishna Bhagwan ki. Before I move on, before Panditji delivers his pravachan today, are there any thoughts, observations, comments, or questions that arise? If not, if so, please feel free to ask either of us, and may God continue to bless you. Prem se bolo Shri Govinda Krishna Bhagwan ki jai.
Thank you very much, Panditji. We'll ask the teachers of the children's class to now take the children across to the Balvihar class. So all young ones, please, we invite you to move across very quietly. All dressed in wonderful yoga attire they are this morning, with their yoga mats and so on, and they are going to participate in wonderful activities. Those of you who are viewing on and for whatever reason could not attend this morning, we encourage you to bring your children or grandchildren to the Mandir every Sunday as we engage them in a wonderful Balvihar program. And you can ensure that their exposure and training will redound not only to their benefit, but that of your family, community, and our country. This morning, before we begin, as you know, last Saturday, we would have observed that wonderful, wonderful occasion of Mahashivratri. And for that reason, our regular Sunday morning service, the times were adjusted. So we started our Sunday morning service just at 12 midnight. And we finished just after 6. Panditji was here with us until just after 6 a.m. So many persons stayed behind. Indira is smiling. She was one of those that stayed behind for that service that was brought up a little earlier. And for those who joined on YouTube or on Facebook, we thank you for joining with us for that wonderful occasion. We were not therefore able to extend our condolences to Auntie Shanti, who lost uncle, as we know him, Mr. Dan Prasad, who would have passed away last week. So we extend our condolences to that family on their recent bereavement. The funeral ceremony would have taken place earlier this week. And I know Vishnu and Jenny in particular, you know, you all really did a wonderful job in extending your hand and your heart to assist that family. And may Bhagwan bless you for all of your wonderful and noble efforts. For all persons who've suffered recent bereavement or loss, we extend our prayers and our condolences to you. And we pray that Bhagwan continues to give you that strength, and that courage, and that fortitude. Indeed, the verses that were read from Bhagavad Gita this morning were very, very appropriate to remind us all, even in times of loss, that there is indeed a greater, higher purpose that we should all be mindful of. Also in that vein, I want to extend birthday greetings, anniversary greetings to many persons who are celebrating. Some I may omit, so please, if I've omitted it, please forgive me. So Devesh would have celebrated his birthday. Carrie and Dina would have celebrated their anniversary recently, so congratulations to you. Ambika, who is here with us, would have celebrated her birthday. And we have some birthdays that are coming up. So this morning, Darshan sat and performed his puja. His birthday is unfortunately on the 29th of February. So like Varad, who also celebrates his birthday in February, on February 29th, they get to celebrate a quarter of their birthday every year. and then a grand celebration every 4 years. So we extend our birthday greetings to them. And I also want to take the opportunity to extend birthday greetings to a young lady who sits behind the harmonium every Sunday and who renders beautiful bhajan to Neela, who celebrates her birthday on Friday. Happy birthday to you. All other persons celebrating, we want to extend birthday greetings or anniversary greetings to you all. This morning, as we begin, I invite us all to sit upright as we just engage in a moment of pratna as we commence. Hari Om Karpura Gauram Karunavataram Sansar Saram Mujagendraharam Saravasantam Hridayarvinde Bhavam Bhavani Sahitam Namami Bhavam Bhavani Sahitam Namami Bhavam Bhavani Sahitam Namami. Prem Suvalimapati Mahadeva Ki Jai. So for many persons, last Saturday when you engaged in Jagran and in fasting, we would have considered that to be a sacrifice being made. Abstaining, fasting, those who were able to do so totally from water or food of any kind, and then engaging in that sacrifice of waking the entire night until the following morning. So that is indeed what one would consider to be a very meaningful sacrifice that has been made. Every week, Pandit Ji implores us about the challenge, and I know many persons viewing online have taken that up as well, where you perform that act of meditation every single day, and that is an act of sacrifice. Earlier this week, on Wednesday in particular, many of our Christian brothers and sisters commenced a very meaningful, a very wonderful period known as the Lenten season, where they too are engaged in acts of sacrifice, where they are withholding themselves from certain things, traditionally certain food items and so on, but yet others would abstain from other things. Very interestingly, not too long from now, our Muslim brothers and sisters will be commencing that period, that holy month of Ramadan, and again, certain acts of sacrifice would be engaged by them, and then we too, overlapping each other during the period of Navaratri, where there is also that period of abstinence, that period of focus, and that period of sacrifice that is made. And I keep harping on the word this morning, sacrifice, because this morning I want to speak a little bit about the meaning of sacrifice and what the implications are for us. When we listen to the Katha, and this was spoken to us a couple weeks ago, from Shiv Mahapuran about the churning of the ocean and the emergence of that deadly poison. That poison, as we said, that had the ability to destroy the entirety of creation. And there was no individual who was capable of addressing that real and present danger, save and except for Shankara Bhagwan. And even though the potential of the consumption of that halal poison could have impacted him negatively as well, he made that sacrifice and he consumed that halal poison. That was retained, as we said, in his truth, turning the entire truth blue, and hence he became known as Nilakant. So there's that sacrifice that was indeed presented by Shankara Bhagwan for not himself, but for the entirety of creation. And so, brothers and sisters, when we engage in acts of sacrifice, we must think of the purpose for which we do so. Think of the student who would say, well, I'm sacrificing playing games, so going out with my friends because I have to study for upcoming examinations. And many students who are here writing either the upcoming CSEC exams or the upcoming CAPE exams, or those persons who are in tertiary institutions would recognize, quote unquote, the sacrifices that they make in order to gain, hopefully, that desired success in their exams. And we have the cliche saying that nothing good comes easily. so that sacrifice is made towards a particular result. There are other persons as well who would think, well, okay, I am, not at my desirable weight, or I'm not at my desirable fitness level. And so they will engage in acts of sacrifice, quote unquote, by not eating certain things or not eating as much of certain things or not eating at all, with that new trend of intermittent fasting, by going to the gym or committing themselves to various forms of exercise, and that sacrifice is also being made. And we must ask ourselves, therefore, what is the purpose of the sacrifices that we make? Many of us do make sacrifices. Some of us thinking about it and we do it. Some of us inadvertently we make sacrifices. Many often at times as parents, we forego some of the things that we would want to have ourselves, sacrificing those pleasures for the benefit of our children, whether it is time, whether it is activity, or indeed whether it is material things. And I don't think there's any parent here who could deny the fact that at times you would have deprived yourself of certain things, sacrificing those benefits for your children. And so we ask ourselves, what is the purpose of sacrifices that we make? And for many persons, it is for the benefit of others, not only for ourselves. And that's an important statement, and it's an important thing to think about. That when we make a sacrifice, whatever it may be, it is not something that benefits ourselves alone, but it is something that should benefit others as well. And as Sanatanist Hindus, when we think about our inextricable link with each other and with the entirety of creation, we should recognize that when we make certain sacrifices, it really amounts to the benefit not only of ourselves, but for others. And that is a wonderful way to think about the sacrifices that we make. Sometimes when we deprive ourselves of certain things, it will assist others. In the example that I quoted of a parent sacrificing for their child. But sometimes we think, well, what is the benefit of me then engaging in certain acts of sacrifice? Because it may not benefit others. But that is looking at things at a very myopic way. So let's use the example that Panditji has tossed out to us of meditation on a daily basis. That sacrifice that you make, one would say, well, that only benefits me. Because if I engage in that act of sacrifice, then it is to my benefit that I am engaged in. And if we think about it from that way, that is a perspective. But is it really the only perspective? When you uplift yourselves, when you engage in that act of meditation in your home, think about what actually happens in doing that. When you engage in those positive acts at home, you transform, or you have the ability to transform yourself, to relieve yourself of some of the negativities that you may have. Sometimes we get angry, so by performing this type of tapasya, then maybe our anger subsides. Sometimes we are very anxious or agitated, and again, performing this tapasya would alleviate those conditions. If that happens to us, what is then the effect of those around us? Like the deer that illumines and dispels the darkness, we ourselves, if uplifted, have the benefit or the ability to influence those persons that we immediately into contact with. Whether it is our family, our children, our spouse, our co-workers, our students, whoever it may be, we have that ability. And sometimes we say that, I want to be around a particular person because I get a good vibe. There's a particular attraction in terms of that person. When they walk into the room, there's that positive energy. That doesn't come by happenstance. It comes because of the sacrifices that that person may have made, both in this life and before. And so, even though we may think that these activities redound to our own benefit, in that one small measure we see that it does in fact impact positively those around. Let's continue with that example. So by you performing these acts of meditation in your home, what are you doing for your children or your spouse? You are setting the most powerful teaching tool that there is, the tool of example. That is, you don't only speak about it, but you actually perform the actions. And that is a very powerful thing, especially for children. Again, parents, when you look at your child or your children growing up, one of the most powerful ways to impact upon them in a meaningful way, in a fundamental way, is by the examples that we set for them. By the examples that we set for them. Sometimes they may not subscribe to those examples immediately, but somewhere that seed is planted so that they recall, aha, this is what my mother used to do, or this is what my father used to do, this is what my parents did. And it then continues in that vein as a most powerful example and teaching tool for them. Translate that beyond. The sacrifices that you then make redound not only to the benefit of yourself and your family, but by extension, they provide a very wonderful example and a very powerful upliftment for persons that your family comes into contact with. Your community, places in school, your places of work, and so on. So even though there are acts of sacrifice that sometimes might seem to be self-centered, if we truly look at those acts of sacrifice, they can have a very powerful effect. Again, the question is asked, well, how does going to the gym and me losing weight benefit other persons? Anybody could think of an answer to that? I feel better, excellent. And if I feel better, then I am able to act in a more meaningful way, again, to my family members and so on. If I am healthy, am I likely to become ill with certain conditions? As we say, some of those types of lifestyle diseases we are able to mitigate against. And in so doing, again, what is the benefit? Our family may not have the responsibility of attending to our medical needs because we've mitigated against those. More than that, at a macro level, the healthcare system would not be as overwhelmed. The amount of money that is spent, taxpayers' dollars that are spent in medicines and in having all of those other things that are necessary to care for persons who are not well may not be as great. So even in that act of sacrifice that we make, it doesn't only redound to our own personal benefit, but it redounds to the benefit of others. And it's important for us to think in this way because sometimes even the deprivation of certain pleasures that we may want to have assists others. How would it impact me if instead of having 2 pizzas a month, I were to have just 1? I'm not talking about the whole pizza, right? That money that I would have saved from doing that can be put to a more productive or different purpose. I can assist someone who is in need and who needs that item of food or maybe an item of clothing more than I do. Do I need to really have those luxuries, or should I be content with the things that are necessities as opposed to luxuries? And the saving then, what does that accrue to? So we must think about these things at a micro level because, you know, at a macro level, we are very often ones to complain, quite rightly so, that there's such a wastage of resources at a national level. Why do we have to wait so long to have a road repaired? Why do we have to wait so long to have our water lines repaired or to get water to certain places? And any student of economics will tell you because there are finite resources that can only be deployed in certain areas. And so if it is that we make certain sacrifices now, and the resources that are saved can be deployed to better usage, then that is something that will redound to the benefit of all. So those are things that we think about. So the little incremental changes that we make now, the young ones who are in the Balvihar class, for example, in the next 2 or 3 decades, they will be the leaders of our country. And if they are ingrained with that kind of thought process from now, if that is the belief system that they become familiar with, and not a system of entitlement, not a system that they should get everything doled out to them, not a system of dependency, then we can see the sacrifices that we make now bearing fruit. Maybe not as soon as we would like it, but definitely bearing fruit in the future. And that is the tradition that we have come from. And that is the legacy that our foreparents have come, and we just need to think back to the sacrifices that they made in coming to this country and laboring on the plantations, in saving, in being very thrifty, in sacrificing that they have done for our benefit. Where do we, as the generations that have benefited from that, where do we make the sacrifices now? And that is something that we must ask ourselves, because too often I see persons who feel that sense of entitlement. Too often I see people who think that I should be not self-reliant, but I am happy to be dependent. Too often I see persons who are happy with the status quo and not willing to work and to sacrifice and to build themselves up, not only materially, but spiritually as well. And so the sacrifices that we make now will bear fruit not only for ourselves and not only for our families, but indeed for our country. This is a very powerful lesson at this time, especially emerging out of Mahashivratri, when we made those sacrifices. And you know, every year we comment and we observe that in the Mandir there's a tradition that comes about. It's like cyclical. And just leading up to Shivratri and on the night of Shivratri, the Mandir is overflowing with persons. And once Shivratri hits, then you see a downward spiral again until around the period of Ganesh Utsav, goes back up again, and then you see a descent again thereafter into Christmas and that area. We must ask ourselves, why is that so? What is the rationale? Why can't we not have a steady climb at all times? Many reasons, many thoughts to be provoked by that. But it is something that we've observed for decades now annually. And we must ask ourselves, should the sacrifices just be made periodically, or should the sacrifices be made consistently? And those are the things that we need to ask and think about. So brothers and sisters, as I leave you with this very short message this morning, during this particular time that I think is meaningful for all of us, having concluded the excesses of a particular season, and I'm sure you know what I mean by that, the season that has just concluded, much creativity, but too many excesses as well, which has redounded to the detriment of many persons and many lives and many families. Let us think about the sacrifices that we ought to make so that we could indeed make a better position for ourselves, our families, and our country. Prem se boli Umapati Mahadev ki jai. Before I hand over to the group for Kirtan, just a reminder, so I'll do the announcements now. Persons who would like to make arrangements to sit for puja or for Hawan on a Sunday morning, please see Mr. Sinanan this morning. Mrs. Umrao is not here this morning, so you could see Gangadine to give your names, and he will make the necessary arrangements. You should bear in mind that the annual general meeting of the management committee of the Mandir will be upcoming pretty soon during the month of May. And persons who would like to attend and participate in that AGM, and I'm assuming it's everybody here, please ensure that you are financial for the current year. And what that means is the sum of $5 per month is the membership fee. That works out to be $60 for the year. So please see Mr. Sinanan or Treasurer Neela to just make sure that you are financially current so that you can participate in the AGM that will take place in the month of May. And you can have a voice in terms of what takes place in terms of policies and directions of the Mandir. And you can also volunteer your services to serve on the management committee. And we're looking for that level of vibrancy. We're looking for some of the youth to hold themselves forward so that they can be the future of our management committee and our Mandir going forward. I also want to remind persons of weekly classes at the Mandir. So Prashant conducts BVS classes here on a Saturday from 1:30 p.m. So you're invited to come, Hindi, vocal music, and so on. Kiran Sankar conducts tabla classes here on the Mandir, at the Mandir on a Thursday, both beginners and intermediate levels. So please allow yourselves to have the opportunity. Rana and Susan Muhib conduct dance and music classes here on a Tuesday. There's yoga class on a Monday, and we will have yoga again tomorrow evening from 5:30. So those persons who are interested, you can come. So there are many, many activities taking place on a consistent basis. Next week, Sunday, the Sri Sivak Sabha will be hosting a very special speaker at our Sunday morning service, as the Wednesday following is International Women's Day. And the theme this year is women and technology. So our speaker will be geared towards that. So we look forward to seeing you all next Sunday to listen to that very distinguished speaker on the occasion of International Women's Day, next being highlighted the following Wednesday, that's the 8th, and then as a result of that, we will have a very special discourse on next Sunday. The blood drive, the visit of the blood bank, 1st of April confirmed? Right, so the mobile unit of the blood bank will be here. We have usually 2 drives per year, and Krishna and his hardworking members of the Social Outreach Committee spearhead this drive, and the mobile unit will be here on the 1st of April. It's a Saturday. It's not April Fool's, so I'm being truthful about it, so please don't mistake what I'm saying, and we look forward to all of you, and this is where the healthy lifestyle comes back in. So make sure your iron levels are up, green fig, dashing bush bhaji, kalaloo, those things, and make sure that your blood pressure is low. So exercise, less salt, all of those things as well. And we can then come and donate that pint of blood. We could make that sacrifice, and that sacrifice benefits not only us, but so many persons who are in need of that pint or that unit of blood to save lives, actually. So on the 1st of April, we appeal to you to come out, pre-register, and come forward and give that unit of blood. Those are our main announcements for today. Have I forgotten anything? No? All right, so after our kirtan, we will go straight into Arti and so on to conclude this morning service. At this point, I invite everyone to come forward, sanitize your hands, please come forward, perform your Arti, and sanitize once more and resume your seats as I hand over to the group. Jai Sitaram.
Jai Ram, राम पाद कल चले विपिन को चीत कूट पगधारी राम चीत कूट पगधारी चरण पादुका लेकर लौटे चरण पादुका लेकर लौटे भरत लाल बलिदारी
बोलो श्री राम जय राम जय जय राम बोलो श्री राम जय राम जय जय राम
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 बोलो श्री राम जय राम जय जय राम
बोलो श्री राम जय राम जय जय राम
पंचवटी में आई ऋषि मुनि दर्शन कर हितकारी ओ रामा दर्शन कर हितकारी सूपनका खंडित कर कंसन दर्शन में तलहारी बोलो श्री राम जय राम जय जय राम
बोलो श्री राम जय राम जय जय राम
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 बोलो श्री राम जय राम जय जय राम
बोलो श्री राम जय राम जय जय राम
माया मृग के पीछे जाए रावण बना भिखारी ओ राम रावण बना भिखारी योगी लक्ष्मण रे कालादी योगी लक्ष्मण रे कालादी हर ली जनित दुलारी
बोलो श्री राम जय राम जय जय राम बोलो श्री राम जय राम जय जय राम
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 ओम श्री राम जय राम जय जय राम
श्री राम जय राम जय जय राम
बोलो श्री राम जय राम जय जय राम
बोलो श्री राम जय राम जय जय राम
हरि में सुर रघुवर सुग्रीव के बाली को स्वर्ग बताया ओ रामा बाली को स्वर्ग बताया सुर लेने सिय की लंका में सुर लेने सिय की लंका में हनुमान रे आया
बोलो श्री राम जय राम जय जय राम बोलो श्री राम जय राम जय जय राम
रोम रोम से राम राम के ध्वनि निकले जब प्यारी ओ रामा ध्वनि निकले जब प्यारी कभी आदेश मिले सक संपत्ति कभी आदेश मिले सक संपत्ति मिल जाए विपदा सारी
बोलो श्री राम जय राम जय जय राम बोलो श्री राम जय राम जय जय राम
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 श्री राम
जय भोला बंधारी शिव हर जय भोला बंधारी
जय भोला भंडारी शिव हरि जय भोला भंडारी
जय भोला बंधारी शिव हर जय भोला बंधारी
जय भोला भंडारी
बाजे रे जमुना के तीर
मुरलिया बाजे रे जमुना के तीर
मुरलिया बाजे रे जमुना के तीर
मुरलिया बाजे रे जमुना के तीर
जमुना के तीर हो 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 जमुना के तीर मुरलिया बाजे रे जमुना के तीर मुरलिया बाजे रे जमुना के तीर
मुरली की धुन मेरो मन हर लीनो
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 चित करत नहीं दे
जीत हरत नहीं थी
मुरलिया बाजे रे जमुना के तीर
मुरलिया बाजे रे जमुना के तीर
मेरा के प्रभु गिरिधर नागर
वीरा के प्रभु गिरधर नागर
मेरा के प्रभु गिरिधर नागर
वीरा के प्रभु गिरधर नागर
चरण कमल बरसी
चरण कमल परसी मुरलिया बाजे रे जमुना के तीर मुरलिया बाजे रे जमुना के तीर
जमुना के तीर हो 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 जमुना के तीर मुरलिया बाजे रे जमुना के तीर मुरलिया बाजे रे जमुना के तीर
मुरलिया बाजे रे जमुना के तीर
मुरलिया बाजे रे
जमुना के तीर
प्रेम से बोले वृंदावन बिहारी लाल की जय. We stand now for final arti.
ओम जय जगदीश हरि स्वामी जय जगदीश हरि भक्त जनों की संकट नास जनों के संकट क्षण में दूर करे ओम जय जगदीश हरि जो ध्यावे मन पावे दुख दिन से मन का स्वामी दुख दिन से मन का शरण कहूँ किसकी, तुम बिन और न दूजा, तुम बिन और न दूजा, आश करो जिसकी। ओम जय जगदीश हरे, तुम पूर्ण परमात्मा, तुम अंतर्यामी, स्वामी तुम अंतर्यामी, पार ब्रह्म परमेश्वर, पार ब्रह्म परमेश्वर, तुम सबके स्वामी। ओम जय जगदीश हरे, तुम करुणा के सागर, तुम पालन करता, स्वामी तुम पालन करता। हम सेवक तुम स्वामी, हम सेवक तुम स्वामी, कृपा करो भरता। ओम जय जगदीश हरे, तुम हो एक अगोचर, सबके प्राणपति, स्वामी सबके प्राणपति। किस विधि मिलो दया में, किस विधि मिलो दया में, तुम हो मैं कुमति। ओम जय जगदीश हरे, दीन बंधु दुख हरता, तुम रक्षक मेरे, स्वामी तुम रक्षक मेरे। अपने हाथ उठाओ, अपने हाथ उठाओ, द्वार पर तेरे। ओम जय जगदीश हरे, ओम जय जगदीश हरे, स्वामी जय जगदीश हरे। भक्त जनों के संगत, दास जनों के संगत, क्षण में दूर करे। ओम जय जगदीश हरे, ओम जय जगदीश हरे, ओम जय जगदीश हरे।
Hari Om. As we clasp our hands, close our eyes, and bow our heads in prayer, we come before you, O Prabhu, as your children, with all humility, seeking your love, seeking your blessing, seeking your guidance, your inspiration, your protection. We pray this morning in a special way for all persons who suffered the loss of a loved one. Give them that strength and that solace and that courage that is needed to overcome this time of difficulty. To those persons who are ill, those persons who are ailing in some way, we ask you to provide that strength to them, to their families and loved ones, so that they can care for them and comfort them. For those persons who are on a deviant pathway, we ask you, Prabhu, to direct their minds and their hearts so that they can once more conduct themselves in a way that would bring them closer to you. For you are mother, you are father, you are family, you are friend, you are knowledge, you are wealth, you are everything to us. We surrender ourselves completely to you. In one voice, we join together. Tvameva Mata, Cha Pita, Tvameva, Tvameva Bandhu, Cha Sakha, Tvameva, Tvameva Vidya, Dravinam, Tvameva, Tvameva सर्वं मम देव देव ॐ असतो मा सद्गमय तमसो मा ज्योतिर्गमय मृत्योर्मामृतं गमय ॐ शान्तिः 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 हरि ओम। प्रेम से बोले श्री गणेश भगवान की जय, उमापति महादेव की जय, वृंदावन बिहारी लाल की जय, आज शक्ति जगदम्बा देवी मैया की जय, श्री पवन पुत्र हनुमान की जय। प्रेम से बोले श्री सत्य सनातन धर्म की। Turn to those persons around you, सब कोई जय सीताराम, जय सीताराम, जय सीताराम। May Bhagwan bless us all. May we have a very powerful and productive week ahead. We look forward to seeing you all with us next Sunday for a satsang and our puja from 8:30 in the morning. Let us enjoy now the birthday song to all of our celebrants. Let us sing together.
बार बार दिन ये आए, बार बार दिन ये